Watch out!
Bayonetta 3 was a bombastic end to an insanely high-quality trilogy. Most won't argue that the gameplay and spectacle is some of the most fun and creative we've seen since the series debuted back in 2009. That being said, there were some flaws with the game that fans have every right to criticize. Luckily, I have some evidence that a remaster is in the works, and it may very well address all the concerns fans had with Bayonetta 3. But before we get into that, I want to take a moment to get everyone on the same page for what caused Bayonetta 3's scrutiny. To understand that, we need to first look at the game's development cycle. Bayonetta 3 had one of the most turbulent development cycles in the history of Platinum games, and that's saying a lot. First, the team struggled to find a flow for the game's progression, playing around with ideas of an open world that apparently never landed in a satisfying way. So, midway through development, they scrapped the idea entirely. Yeah, Thule was supposed to be the hub world where we bridged Janunga Gap portals to enter different multiverse worlds. You can see remnants of this concept with how the portals change the scenery in real time rather than taking us to a proper loading screen. That was how the game was going to save resources on maintaining its open world while giving the appearance of seamlessness. You can also see by the layout of Thule that it was meant to be more expansive. So many areas look like we should be able to reach them, and I assume we were probably also going to swim in water as a serpent again. Regardless, not only could Platinum Games not figure out a good progression flow for the setup, but apparently the Switch hardware wasn't allowing it to run very well, a problem we'll see arise again later. Around the same time the open world got scrapped, the director of Bayonetta 3 left Platinum Games to work on the Tekken series. This also caused a bit of chaos as Platinum had to take time for deciding on a new director, which in turn led to a huge shift in the workflow and priorities from what the team previously had. This might have even been the exact point the open world concept was canned. No matter how you look at it, Platinum Games almost doubled their development time after everything was said and done. To top everything else off, the iconic voice of Bayonetta kept Platinum Games in ongoing negotiations, only to eventually turn them down anyways because of payment disputes. You've all heard the details before, I'll link the full explanation of what happened at the end of this video. Either way, this left Platinum Games to rush the voice work for the game, leaving Bayonetta with an unpolished and inconsistent English accent from Canadian-born American Jennifer Hale. The voice lines themselves also seemed fairly rushed, with Hale's delivery being much quicker and far less theatrical than the Bayonetta voice we've come to know and love. So, now you've come to understand Bayonetta 3 was doomed to be less polished than the first two games from the beginning. But it's surprising how high quality the game still turned out to be. That brings us to the story. What brings most people disdain for Bayonetta 3's story is the ending, and a few contrived plot points leading up to it. Dialogue was sparse, characters acted uncharacteristically dumb or inept, power scaling was inconsistent, Viola had literally zero character progression from when we met her, Bayonetta's romance with Luca was rushed, and the ending was conveyed vaguely and poorly, leading many people to not understand it properly. It's almost as if the turmoil of development translated into the story's presentation, and I have no doubt the story's inconsistencies and sparse dialogue was because of the open world getting scrapped and the direction changing. The story had to be reworked, leading to many oversights from the team. A remaster on Switch 2 could actually add more dialogue, rework some voice deliveries from Hale, and even add entirely new scenes or scenarios to further flesh out what happened here. Which brings me to the other issue players faced with Bayonetta 3, the graphics. Now, the graphics are far from bad, and for a Switch title, it's still one of the best looking games on the console. That being said, Bayonetta 2 looked far better, even Bayonetta 1 in many cases. Now, that isn't Bayonetta 3's fault. Bayonetta 3 is far more expansive than 1 and 2, and the Demon Slave mechanic requires a lot of resources to run as seamlessly as it does. This led to an inevitable downgrade to the graphics. Excessive dithering makes everything look messy, and it's everywhere. Bayonetta's character model gets billboarded in many areas, leading her to look very weird up close during gameplay, and when playing in handheld, she is permanently billboarded in gameplay no matter where you are. Since Thule was originally crafted for Bayonetta 3's open world and was repurposed, it's actually rendered at a lower pixel rate than the rest of the game, and it's noticeable. Some of Bayonetta's outfits have accompanying glitches, like her Bayonetta 1 outfit lagging cutscenes, causing a severe desync with the audio. Now, these aspects I've mentioned so far are mostly Switch hardware issues, but the turbulent development cycle also led to a few oversights in the general polish department. Bayonetta has some weird facial animations that didn't get cleaned up. likely thanks to the rushed voice process. When using Scarborough Fair or Love is Blue, Bayonetta's clothes don't peel off when in her hair outfits. Matter of fact, even when using Demon Slave with her hair outfits from 1 and 2, her clothes don't peel off like they do with her third outfit. An odd oversight, since this has never been an issue in Bayonetta 2 when wearing either of her hair outfits, and even Smash Ultimate made sure to have this visual effect. Bayonetta herself doesn't even stand out visually in cutscenes or gameplay. 1 and 2 made sure to always have her stand out with lighting hitting her in a way that her outfit shined. In Bayonetta 3, it's easy to lose track of her unless you make her glow with something like Demon Slave, but even then, like I mentioned, her other outfits don't glow or peel her clothes off. The only other way to make her glow is to give her pink or white hair, but not everyone wants those colors as her default. Cutscenes also used to have a depth of field effect, giving her more of a screen presence. Only a handful of cutscenes in 3 have this blur effect, and they look noticeably better than what we get a majority of the time. All of this is to say, Bayonetta 3 is in dire need of a remaster for Nintendo's next console, but I have good reason to believe we'll be seeing one, and here's why. In their development diaries, Platinum Games has shown off some behind-the-scenes content. In several of their videos, they even show us some development screens which include high-poly models that we never got to see in-game. They even go out of their way to mention that these models are higher quality versions of what we see in-game, and later in the same video, we see the Nintendo Switch version of the model, which has a noticeable dip in detail. Meaning Platinum Games future-proofed the assets of Bayonetta 3. Now for those who don't know, developers only do things like this if they know they plan on releasing their games on other hardware. In this case, as Bayonetta 3 is a Switch exclusive, it can only mean that a remaster is coming for a future console. Presumably the Switch successor will likely be seeing this year. With that being said, with the remaster for Bayonetta 3 seemingly imminent on Switch 2, it means we can see improvements and additions to the game, like the ones I mentioned earlier in the video. Expansion content, voice acting fixes, bug fixes, and additional polish are all in the pipeline for what will probably be a definitive edition for Bayonetta 3. Maybe called the Bewitched Edition or something of the like. If that does end up being the case, what do you want to see most from the Bayonetta 3 remaster? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and afterwards, catch up with more of my videos, like this one here where I critique Bayonetta 3's story and give insight as to what it was we all felt but couldn't quite put into words. The link is right in front of you. Or you can watch my video on the Jennifer Hale Helena Taylor debacle that I'll have linked in the comments section. I've been Johto Johnny, stick around and enjoy everyone.